Okay, internet. Someone asked for disc golf hyzer flip was their name. Someone asked for an X step drill, so here we are. So what goes wrong in the X step, right? You have too much speed, so you do one of these. Your spine gets aligned here going on your X step, so when that foot hits the ground, that will be slowing you down, and then you stop here. So you don't want your X step to slow you down, and you don't want your X step to turn you backwards. When you turn backwards, the only way to throw hard or powerfully is to then turn forwards. There's no good way with my hips and my toe lined up that way to make a bunch of force go that way without turning around to do it. So I really want my X to keep me this way. So for me, for the way my legs are built, I am internal rotation dominant. This feels fine for me. This does not feel fine. If you're the other way, if this feels normal and you feel like your hips have good mobility here, and this feels like they're gonna break, then my alignment might not make sense to you, and you might want to be more here with this foot on the 45, as long as it's not turning your hips too far backwards. Once your hips get too far back, you're screwed. So with the way my hips are built, I want to keep this foot here pointed at the camera so that I can take the knee and dip the knee in to this position that we see a lot of batters get into, where the knee is coming in. If I turn too far backwards, my balance gets messed up, my head gets here over the back foot, and then I can't get this leg in right because my toe's backwards. I need it here. So I want to keep it there and get into my brace in this position. So then that feeling needs to be replicated in the front. This is Trent's magic position, right? There's really a lot to that position. That's outside of the scope. We're talking about X step. So the X step, how would you make a drill for it? I mean, honestly, like the first part of the drill is doing the one leg stuff, getting it to where you can have this leg stay strong and stable and organize the rear hip to just drop and be a counterweight and have that power your motion, right? Without falling forward like I just did. So if you activate your offhand, then you get an anchor here where you don't fall forward. If I don't use my offhand, there's a little bit of a leg swing and a step forward. So this helps anchor everything, right? As does the rear leg poking out and going that way, right? So there's extension happening here and here that anchors you so you don't over rotate. You have to learn that here on a static frame. Once you have that figured out, you can back up and go to a one step and do the same thing. So you're ending with an anchor and an anchor, boom, and a follow through, right? With your shoulders not opening too far to the target. So this is more of a Garrett Girthy style throw than an Eagle style throw. I think it's better to learn Girthy style first, or Wiggins, you know what Wiggins is doing, where his shoulders are only open 10 degrees and his hip is here. I think this is a better way to learn containment from the front side. Once you have that, you can then throw more like Eagle and open the shoulders up more if you want to, but you can learn Wiggins to Eagle. I don't think you can learn Eagle to Wiggins. I think if you're Eagle, you don't ever learn to get enough containment on your front side. Both ways are totally fine to throw, but I think the Wiggins style is easier to teach and get people to feel the brace correctly. Go watch Seabass's video on that. It's just look up Eagle versus GG, and I think it'll show up. I'll put a link to it in the description. That one's really good. So back to what we're doing. Started here, right? Learn this frame. You have to learn it here. This is a progression. This is the progression part, right? Everyone attacks this drill because they're like, well, you're locking your knee and you can't balance, Seabass. Or, you know, you're not coiling your spine enough. That's not the point. The point is to get this leg still and have everything else move around it. Then, when you can do that, you back up and move from a lateral weight shift into the same drill you were doing. So now you're adding some reality that your hips are going to have forward momentum as you come into this shape, into this T-pose. Then you can back up more and add a true one step. So you're coiling into the rear leg, stepping, shifting the weight, and coming to the same position with 2 anchors and a follow through, a hit and a follow through. So that's a one step. Then you can back your one step up to here, right? So that's the start of your X step. So first you do one step, feet together, boom, just like Loop Ghost said. And you can back up to here, shift your weight all the way to the back foot, shift your weight to the front foot, or don't. You know, you can do like an AB style where you entirely float over the X step. I think that's probably good to do as a drill, if not actually how you throw. But you're just backing up from the one leg. So one leg, little bit of lateral weight shift, complete weight shift on a step, back it up to shifting weight off of the initial step onto the X, and then actually stepping into the initial onto the X. So that's literally what I would do. I would just start doing that. And like what I'm indexing off of is I'm putting my shin actually touching my calf, so that this is the farthest I can go. If there's no space here, I can't move this foot farther. Like, it physically can't do it. So that's how I got it small enough. So if you try to do it fast like that, it has to be fast, otherwise you're going to fall forward, right? And that's what Anthony Barella looks like when he throws sometimes. I know he throws a lot of different ways, but sometimes he'll be running up and he'll just go boom, and you can't even see his X step because it's so fast. So that's a thing to be able to do, right? There's value there, because what most beginners do is the opposite. They go initial step, X step, oh crap, everything's wrong and I have to crank over and be in horse stance and all this silly stuff. So that's the thing to fix. And the way to fix it is making sure you can do this all the way off screen, right? Because if you can't do it 20 times, you're not gonna be able to do it once, right? So you have to be able to maintain balance and stability and do this little shuffle, right? That's also a good way to work on Paul Macbeth's counter pump. So if you watch Paul, he goes, pumps the disc to counteract, so the shoulders are counteracting where the hips naturally want to go. So if the hips want to go this way, you're going to crank the shoulders this way to keep that neutral. So as this goes behind, this goes in front, keeps the hips relatively neutral, and then you can coil coming off of the X into the plant. That's where you get your coil. So you can do that, right? If you've ever watched football players grapevine, they'll do this, but they're going front back, right? You go back, front, back. So we're gonna do back, 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 not back, front. So it's back, back, back. Just working on keeping the hips neutral. Okay. So that's probably the most useful drill. We'd do like 5 or 10 of those and then throw. So it'd be here and only coil and throw in the last one. That was totally wrong. No one noticed. Right, so it's gonna be coil there. Step, 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 coil, throw. So that's one way to practice isolating the X step. But honestly, you just have to like think about it how I fixed my planting open. I spent like 6 months going to the field and filming like every day, trying to get my foot to close. I couldn't do it. And finally one day I just got mad enough that I was like, okay, I'm going to do this right. And I started, you know, here and just shifted into the heel and through, like that slow. And then you speed it up a little bit. And then when you start to lose it, you get angry again and go back and slow it down and fix it. So it's the same thing here. Like, people throw this and they're like, I can't control my foot. Why can't I control my foot? It's because you're not controlling your foot. Like, just slow down and do it. Right? So then they throw again and still do it wrong. So you have to slow down, put your feet where you want them. I want this foot here, I want this foot here, and then I'm going to throw. So I'm not thinking about the throw. I'm thinking about my feet. If I think about the throw, my feet are going to do what they did the last million times. Right? So I have to think feet, feet, and then something happens up here and I don't care what that is, but I'm thinking about the feet. That's how you change muscle memory. You have to focus on it and go slow enough that you can make the change, and then speed up from that slow spot slow enough that you can keep the change, and pay enough attention that you notice when you lose it and you can double back and slow down again and fix it again. Easy to say, hard to do, but that's all I got. Good luck, internet.